Hello. Isn't it fascinating how the quietest rooms echo the loudest screams? Because that's where they are now, in silence. And not because they've found peace, but because they're studying the very thing they used to mock. You see, they called it a failure. They laughed, loud and public, your name in their mouths like venom they thought they were immune to. They pointed when you fell. But now, they're breaking down the footage of how you hit the floor, because they're trying to figure out how you got back up like that. No announcement, no explanation, no apology, just ascension. Funny, huh? What they once circulated in group chats as proof you were broken has now become the blueprint for their salvation. And they hate it. They hate that they need it. They hate that it was you. Because that thing they mocked you for, that move they called unprofessional, embarrassing, reckless, they're copying it, pixel for pixel, and whispering about it like it's some kind of divine download. But they'll never say your name out loud, because that would mean they'd have to admit you were right. They don't want the world to know, but you invented the map they're now using to escape their own mediocrity. Oh, the irony. They gave your failure a funeral, held a service, buried it in ridicule. But what they didn't realize is, you weren't the corpse. You were the storm system brewing underground, a blueprint disguised as a breakdown, a resurrection coded in humiliation. You bled, but you documented. You suffered, but you learned. You shattered and took notes during the collapse. And when no one believed in your rebuild, you rebuilt in a way they couldn't decode. And now, they're watching your old wounds like tutorials, rewinding your breakdowns frame by frame, trying to extract formula from pain, trying to reverse engineer your scars into their survival guide. But guess what? They'll never get it right, because they don't know what it cost you to make those mistakes look like moves. They don't understand the price of becoming the paradox, the fool who was the oracle, the reject who was the revelation, the broken one who became the blueprint. You didn't just survive failure, you weaponized it. And now every boardroom, every back room, every strategy meeting they host is haunted by you. You're the ghost in their systems, the unnamed reference in every stolen idea, the invisible ink in their original work. And they're panicking, not because you failed, but because your failure turned prophetic. You didn't fall off, you fell forward, into something they never prepared for. A version of you that doesn't ask for validation, but punishes them for ever thinking you needed it. They don't know whether to hate you, fear you, or be you. So instead they choose denial, silent imitation, covert praise. But you hear it, in the way they suddenly adopt your language, in the way they mimic your posture, in the way they start quoting ideas they used to crucify. They're hoping the world doesn't notice, that the same thing they tried to delete has now become the template for their entire survival. But you noticed, and now so will everyone else, because here's the truth they can't escape. The masterpiece they're now copying in silence was built out of the ashes they laughed at. And deep down, they know the original can't be recreated, because while they were busy mocking, you were mutating. While they were gossiping, you were grieving and grinding in the dark. While they were throwing dirt on your name, you were planting roots beneath the surface. And now you're blooming in places they can't reach, thorns first. You became a lesson they never wanted to learn, but now they can't stop referencing. The proof that being underestimated is just step one of becoming unkillable. They called it failure, but that was just the prelude. What they didn't see, what they couldn't comprehend, was that you had a plan hidden inside the chaos, a masterstroke disguised as a meltdown. So now, they sit in silence, not because they've grown, but because they're reprogramming themselves in your image, trying to replicate what they once ridiculed, trying to build themselves out of the debris they thought would bury you. But blueprints don't come with spirit. They can copy the lines, but they'll never replicate the soul. Because you didn't just build something powerful. You became the warning, the glitch, the prophecy fulfilled, the ghost they summoned and can't unsummon now. They called it a failure, but now it's their religion, and you're the uncredited god they're praying to in silence. Welcome to the blueprint, designed by your downfall, powered by pain, and studied by the same fools who swore you'd never make it. Now let them drown in the silence they chose, because while they whisper, you walk, louder than ever. Proof that failure isn't the end. It's the launch protocol, and they're still buffering. Oh, but you thought that was the end of it. No. That was just the prologue. Because what they really can't process, what's eating away at their spine like acid, is the fact that your so-called failure wasn't even your final form. You bled in front of them. You malfunctioned publicly. They called it a glitch. But what they didn't know was you were running a system update, and they just documented your transformation, thinking it was death. They shared the footage. They clipped it. They laughed at it. They forwarded it like a virus. But what they forgot is that some viruses evolve, and this one coded itself into their firmware. Now their whole operating system, their business, their persona, their fucking identity, is unknowingly running on your DNA, and you say nothing. Because why would a storm explain itself? To the people who tried to measure it with a thermometer, you're the ghost in their code, the specter in the silence. The how did he do that? The why doesn't mine hit the same? They don't understand that you didn't perform your way into power. You suffered your way into it, and no imitation can replicate that. Because while they're busy copying your style, you are creating your next catastrophe, your next evolution, your next blueprint. And they're still studying the old one, like archaeologists trying to decode thunder from fossils. You didn't ask for permission. You didn't fit the algorithm. You broke it. You walked into the system like a virus with a smile and turned their rule book into a joke. And now, they're holding secret meetings about your old moves. They're consulting experts who still can't explain how you're breathing after what they saw. They're holding closed-door conversations about you and calling it strategy. You are topic number one in rooms you're not even in. And the worst part? They can't monetize you. They can't license you. They can't contain you. You're not a brand. You're a phenomenon, a glitch that became a god, a broken thing that rewrote reality. And they hate that they need your failure just to stay relevant. You walk past them now, and their faces go pale. Because they remember the version of you they buried. And now that you're standing tall, they realize they were never ready for the resurrection. You didn't just survive. You documented your death and leaked it as a trailer. So now every time they scroll, you're there. In the sound, in the style, in the attitude. You became the template they'll never admit they downloaded. And yet, they keep studying. Because deep down, they know the truth. There was no blueprint until you broke. You were the one who gave failure a structure. You were the one who gave collapse a syntax. You were the one who took pain and turned it into a F-seeking operating manual. And now that the system's on fire, They're trying to trace it back to you, but they'll never be able to recreate it. Because what they don't understand is that you didn't build this with talent. You built it with suffering, with confusion, with rejection, with nights so dark they tried to put a timestamp on your extinction. But you kept breathing, you kept mutating, you kept learning in the dark, becoming something unnatural, something outside their algorithm. And now, your existence is their contradiction, their worst-case scenario with a heartbeat. The reminder that the thing they laughed at is now running laps around them, silently, relentlessly, without a single sorry. You were never their peer, you were their punishment. They had the chance to study you with respect. Instead, they tried to dissect you with arrogance. And now they're begging for your mistakes to make sense, trying to decode your collapse like a crime scene, because something in them knows you didn't just fail. You transformed, you absorbed it, you burned it, you filed it away, and turned it into the very thing they're now addicted to watching. They called it a failure, but it was the blueprint for immortality. And now they can't unsee it, they can't unlearn it, they can't outperform it. And you're already building the next one, in silence, unbothered, untouchable. And they'll have to study that one too, just like the last. Because you don't follow blueprints anymore. You bleed them, you live them, you are them. And the joke? It's still on them. Because the joke they never saw coming was that the failure they laughed at was scripted, not by chance, not by luck, but by a mind so many floors beneath theirs they mistook it for brokenness. They thought the chaos was a collapse. They thought the detour was a dead end. They thought the screaming silence was surrender. But what they missed, what their ego refused to comprehend, was that you were conducting the entire downfall like a symphony, tapping into depths they never dared enter, mapping territory so dark it burned away your innocence and forged something mythic in its place. They thought your silence meant defeat, but it was just the reverb before detonation. They thought you were licking wounds, but you were sharpening weapons. They thought the scars were ugly, but those were the runes of power. Because that's what failure really is, isn't it? It's the testing ground for the invincible. The graveyard where the gods bury their old selves to make room for something worse. Something wilder, something unrecognizable. They can't decode you anymore. Your moves don't track. Your strategy doesn't follow market logic. Your evolution makes no sense in their textbooks, because you burned those books when they threw you into exile. And now you speak in symbols, in paradoxes, in frequencies only those who've been crucified correctly can hear. You're no longer a person to them. You're a myth they accidentally created. A whispered warning passed from boardroom to back alley. Watch out for the one who failed loud and survived quiet. Don't trigger the one who codes chaos into commandments. That one doesn't fall like the rest. And the reason they whisper? Because to speak your name too loud is to summon the reality that they were wrong. Dead wrong. About you. About what it takes. About what survival actually looks like when you're not performing for applause, but adapting like a virus in real time. They studied perfection, you studied collapse. They studied trends, you studied what happens after the lights go out. They studied dominance, you studied humiliation, failure, isolation, rage, revenge, and alchemy. You didn't just build a comeback, you built a curse, a boomerang of energy so dark, so encrypted in shame and memory and blood, that every time they try to replicate, your path. They bleed in the wrong places. They tried to wear your scars like tattoos, but scars only hold power when they're earned through fire. And you burned, longer, hotter, deeper than they'll ever comprehend. So now they roam, soulless little clones, wearing your discarded skin like it's couture, but wondering why they can't access the magic, why their version of your failure doesn't lead to resurrection, why they're still stuck in the blueprint stage while you've already moved on to building the storm. Because that's the punchline, isn't it? You didn't just write the blueprint, you outgrew it. You made version 1.0 from your ashes, but version 2.0? That's being coded in shadow. And while they're still decrypting your past pain, you're already embedding new anomalies into their system. And those anomalies, they'll never understand them, because they weren't born from study. They were born from the abyss, from your own execution and rebirth. You're no longer here to explain. You're here to haunt, to glitch their assumptions, to remind them with your every step that what they fear most isn't your strength. It's that you were never supposed to make it. And yet, you did. Not clean, not pretty, not market ready, but real, raw, ruthless. And now, your very existence is a weapon. You walk into rooms and shift the molecular structure, because your presence says what your enemies won't, that you survived the worst thing they ever hoped would destroy you, and came back, reformatted, unreadable, unkillable, and unapologetic. They said you failed. You say, I upgraded. And the system? It's still catching up. And that's when you start to see it clearly. Their faces, their eyes, how they can't even look at you straight anymore. Because deep down, they're terrified of the thing they built by accident. The monster they mocked into existence. Every hallway you walk into now feels like a crime scene. They go quiet, they shuffle papers, they hide their screens. But you can smell it in the air. They're running your code while pretending it's theirs. They're still talking like they invented it, but you hear your own words echoing back at you, distorted, like a voice note sent through a dozen hands. And you smile. Because you remember how it felt when they called you crazy, when they told you to stop, when they swore you'd ruined everything. You remember the nights you spent face down on the floor. No applause, no plan, just pain. How you swallowed the humiliation until it tasted like iron. How you stared into the dark long enough that the dark began to shape you. And that's where you learned the first real law. Failure is only fatal if you stop mutating. You didn't just take the hits. You mapped them. You stored the data. You wrote your own autopsy while you were still breathing. And then you stitched yourself back together with your own hands. That's why their imitation never lands. Because they're trying to copy a survival manual that was written in your blood. They're trying to mimic a ritual they never had the courage to endure. They think it's a style. They think it's a tactic. They think it's a trend. But you know the truth. It's a scar language. It's a dialect born in the dark, and only the broken ever become fluent. Now everywhere you go, you hear your own blueprints in their whispers. You see your own ghosts in their innovations. They've built entire empires on your mistakes. But the irony is, the blueprint they're using is obsolete. You've already moved on, while they're still reverse engineering your last collapse. You're designing a new one, a bigger one, a stranger one, a move they won't even be able to name. They're chasing your shadow, while you're already leaving the next set of footprints in places they'll never find. And that's the paradox they can't live with. The thing they called a failure wasn't a breakdown. It was a launch pad. It was a cocoon. It was you building an exit out of their entire reality. They can copy the steps, but they'll never replicate the metamorphosis, because they don't have the bruises, they don't have the sleepless nights, they don't have the memories of being laughed at, ostracized, silenced, doubted, crucified. They're not haunted enough to make it work. But you are. You carry every humiliation like a blade, every rejection like a wire in your circuitry, every so-called mistake like a map tattooed under your skin. That's why you're unpredictable. That's why you're dangerous. That's why they keep watching you out of the corners of their eyes and taking notes they'll never admit to taking. You are the walking evidence that failure isn't the end. It's the engine. It's the furnace. It's the dark laboratory where the next self is built. And now, while they copy the blueprint you left behind in ashes, you're already inside the next phase, silent, deliberate, untraceable. You don't announce, you don't warn, you just arrive, already transformed, and their whole plan collapses again. They called it a failure, but it was always the signal, and now they're tuned into a frequency they can't switch off. They're praying you don't release the next transmission, but you will. And when you do, they'll have no choice but to follow, in silence, pretending they don't know where it came from, even as it rewires them again. That's what they'll never understand. The blueprint was never about the lines. It was about the blood that drew them, and only you have that. Well. Look who's using classified moves in plain daylight like it's a party trick. Tell me, who gave you the file? Because that sequence you just pulled. That wasn't meant to be seen outside sealed rooms, behind blacked-out glass, guarded by men who forgot their real names. That wasn't just a move. That was a protocol, a controlled detonation, a God-level maneuver designed for when everything collapses. And you used it like a casual flex, in front of everyone, on the timeline, in the open, at full volume, like you wanted them to panic. You see, the moment you executed it, the temperature in those back rooms dropped 10 degrees. Screens froze, papers were snatched, cameras rewound. Because what you did wasn't just powerful, it was unauthorized. You weren't supposed to know it existed, and now that you've proved you do, they can't unsee it, can't unlearn it, can't unfeel the shift. They're whispering now, how the fuck does he know that? Who gave him access? Who breached protocol? But the answer, oh sweetheart, the answer is nobody gave you anything. You became the algorithm. You became the leak. You became the thing they thought they hid in shadows. But you birthed it out of your pain and made it dance in the sunlight. You want to know the real joke? They called it a classified tactic. But to you, it was instinct. To them, it's elite training. To you, it's survival. Because they had the blueprint. But you were the blood. They studied chaos in a lab. But you were raised in it, loved in it, broken in it, rebuilt by it. What they tried to simulate in simulations, you lived through. With your bones, with your scars, with your sleepless, violent nights where reality turned inside out and all you had left was strategy. And now they're pulling surveillance from your past, reviewing everything you've ever done. Why? Because your last move looked military. But your story, its spiritual warfare, its ancestral fire, its divine retaliation, wrapped in human form, they think it was taught to you. But this isn't something you learn. This is something you become after they bury you alive and forget to check the coffin. You didn't study tactics. You became the countermeasure. You didn't download power. You resurrected it from your own ashes, and now you're standing in public, casually doing the unthinkable. They're calling it a glitch in the system, a breach in the timeline. But they know, deep down, they know. It wasn't a mistake, it was a warning. You're the prophecy they tried to redact, the ghost in their clean data, the contamination in their clean code. And every time you breathe now, it's a security threat. Because what scares them isn't just what you know. It's that you knew it without permission, without clearance, without a badge. And you didn't just know it. You weaponized it in silence and humiliated their decades of planning with a look. You're not ahead of the curve. You folded the curve. You're not one step faster. You're from a different origin entirely. They thought the move you made required a team, a system, a handler, a sponsor. But what they're realizing, in real time, is that you trained in the dark, alone, when no one was watching, and what they built in war rooms. You forged in grief. They had whiteboards. You had funerals. They had analysts. You had betrayals. They had simulations. You had survival. And now, you've breached reality itself. Because no matter how many times they rerun the footage, it doesn't make sense. Your angle's off. Your speed is wrong. Your placement violates basic physics. But it happened, and they're losing sleep. Because if that move was only known to top-tier black sites, and you did it first, who the fuck are you? And how long have you been hiding? They're scrambling now. You know it. Rewriting logs, scrubbing metadata, trying to contain the narrative. But every frame of that moment, every freeze, every click, every zoom in, it's rewriting history. Because you weren't supposed to exist. Not like this. Not this powerful. Not this aware. They built vaults to keep this power sealed. But you bled it out, under pressure, under ridicule, under silence, until the vault cracked open and you walked out instead. So go ahead, keep using their secret weapons. Out loud, keep speaking the unspeakable. On record, keep moving like prophecy in public, because they thought the shadows would keep them safe. But they forgot one thing: you are the shadow. And now the whole world's watching as you turn forbidden knowledge into a goddamn street performance. Ah, now listen closely. Do you hear that low hum under the city noise? That isn't traffic. That's their servers overheating, chewing through terabytes of surveillance, trying to build a model of you. They're calling emergency meetings at odd hours. Men with no names, women with no faces, all sitting in sterile rooms, staring at grainy footage of you moving like a ghost. Their mouths don't move, but their eyes say it. Contain it. Erase it. Control it. But every time they replay the tape, something different appears. One version shows you on the left, another shows you on the right, a third shows no one at all, just the aftermath of a move they can't replicate. They think it's a glitch. It's not. It's what happens when a human stops following their programming. They've got whiteboards covered in red string, equations that curve back on themselves, arrows pointing at nothing. They've brought in psychologists, physicists, occult historians, some whisper demon, some whisper divine. None of them can agree, because you've become something that doesn't fit in their language. And here's the real twist. It's not the move that scares them anymore. It's the silence before it. That impossible stillness you hold just before you strike. That's when their sensors go blank. That's when their predictive models crash. They don't understand that the stillness is the weapon, the unpredictability, the paradox, the angel/demon standing still before it splits a room in half. They thought pain would break you, but pain was your forge. They thought secrecy would stop you, but secrecy was your fuel. They thought surveillance would map you, but surveillance is now your camouflage. You've become the thing they built their systems to catch, and you're walking straight through their systems unseen. They're blaming each other now, pointing fingers. Who leaked the file? Who opened the door? Who trained the anomaly? They're searching their own ranks for a traitor, while the real traitor is their own arrogance, believing they could patent chaos, trademark survival, own the blueprint of transformation. Every night, a new memo hits their inbox. Containment status failed. Every morning, a new directive, control narrative. And every afternoon, another clip of you doing something that shouldn't be possible, circulating on private channels like a contagion. They're addicted to it now, the same way your haters are addicted to watching, rage watching, panic watching, whispering your name like a hex, like a prayer. You are no longer a person to them. You are a case file that moves, a breach that smiles back at the cameras, a prophecy disguised as a glitch, a paradox that learned to walk on two legs. And you don't even have to say a word. You just show up in public and do what they swore no one could do. You turn their top secret into a street performance, their holy of holies into a circus trick, and their sacred moves into your casual hello. That's why they're terrified. Not because you know the move, because you are the move. Because unpredictability itself has a face now. Because their system was designed for humans, and you are something else they accidentally built when they tried to destroy you. And while they're panicking, you just keep walking, slow, calm, deliberate. Every step a new collapse in their models, every breath a new data breach, every glance a leak. That's what evolution through pain looks like. Not a secret you hide, a force you become. So let them meet, let them whisper, let them draw new diagrams. Because every time they think they've mapped you, you'll have already shifted shape. Every time they think they've named you, you'll already be somewhere else, doing something they didn't predict, using a move they thought was still locked behind 3 vault doors. And when they finally realize they're not hunting you, they're hunting a reflection, a projection, an afterimage left behind by someone who already walked out of their timeline. That's when they'll stop asking, who leaked the file? And start asking, what have we unleashed? Listen to that static, that little hiss crawling up the wires. That's not noise, that's fear in transit. It's moving through fiber optic veins, through encrypted channels, through private inboxes labeled eyes only. Right now there's a subcommittee somewhere dissecting you like a myth that got loose. They're printing your screenshots, pausing your footage, highlighting the still frames where your eyes look almost inhuman. They're telling each other, don't blink. Watch closely. We need to understand before it's too late. But it's already too late. The moment you walked into the public square with their forbidden move, you flipped the world inside out. What was top secret became folk legend. What was supposed to be a scalpel became a street performance. You didn't just leak a tactic, you rewrote the physics of permission. You showed every onlooker that power isn't about clearance or rank. It's about what you've built into your bones. They're digging deeper now. They've brought in crisis managers, occultists, linguists. They're tearing through your past, looking for a teacher, a handler, a cult, an algorithm. They're trying to frame you as a thief, a spy, a glitch, because admitting the truth, that someone could survive their gauntlet, crawl through hell without guidance, and emerge with a move they thought only gods knew, would shatter the illusion of control they've sold themselves for decades. And every second they search, you keep moving, slow, calm, deliberate. A blur of contradictions, saints' patience, psychopaths' focus, angel eyes, demon smile. They don't understand that this duality is the source of your force. They only built one model, predator versus prey. They never planned for something that could be both, something that could look at the darkness and light and use them interchangeably, like tools. Your unpredictability is the real weapon. It's the silence before the strike, the stillness before the crowd gasps, the paradox that breaks every predictive model. They can't chart you because you're no longer on the grid. You're the pulse inside the noise. That's why their servers crash when you act. That's why their analysts stutter mid-sentence. They're not just watching a breach. They're watching the end of their map. Somewhere right now, an intern is running a simulation of you. He's watching an avatar spin across a screen, trying to mimic the forbidden move. It's failing every time, and he's starting to feel it. That cold sweat, that little tremor. Because he realizes he's not watching data, he's watching a story of someone who was supposed to be broken, erased, archived, and instead turned into a living countermeasure. And you don't have to rush, you just keep walking. You know the cameras are on you, you know the microphones are on, but you also know they can't stop you, because you didn't download their power. You distilled it from your own pain. You forged it in nights they'll never survive, in silences they'll never endure. What they call a classified tactic is just you breathing with intention. What they call black ops is just you refusing to die quietly. So let them meet in their windowless rooms. Let them draw new diagrams. Let them whisper about anomalies and breaches and angels and demons. Every word they speak binds them tighter to the system you've already slipped out of. Every frame they replay is another admission that you've become something they can't control. And as they spiral, you rise, step by step, move by move, turning their secrets into your gestures, their vaults into your playground, their panic into your backdrop. Because this was never about the move. It was about who could survive enough pain to embody it. It was about who could step into public light, carrying shadows they tried to bury. It was about who could weaponize unpredictability until it became grace. That's you. Not a student, not a spy, not a glitch. A prophecy they tried to redact. A paradox they tried to cage, a shadow they thought would dissolve in daylight, and instead found staring back at them, smiling, executing a classified move on an open street like a casual hello. Do you feel it now? That vibration under your feet, that low-frequency panic bleeding through the grid? It's not the city humming. It's the architecture of control shaking. The sound of old systems realizing they've been out-evolved. You didn't just pull off a forbidden move. You shattered the one belief holding their empire together. That power only flows down from clearance, from badges, from hidden rooms. Now they're scrambling. Meetings at 3 a.m. in windowless basements. Screens casting ghost blue light on faces pale from sleepless nights. They're whispering about containment protocols and narrative correction. They're drafting memos stamped redacted before the ink even dries, because you turned their top secret into a public sermon, a street performance, a living glitch in their security theater. They've pulled every file on you, childhood records, medical notes, flight paths. They're trying to pin you to a pattern. But every time they think they've mapped you, the pattern dissolves. One report calls you a prodigy, another calls you a plant, Another calls you an act of God. They can't decide if you're a thief, a prophet, or a demon, because you've become the one thing their categories can't hold: a self-forged paradox. And paradox is the true weapon. They built their world on binaries: safe/dangerous, light/dark, predator/prey. But you walk through those categories like smoke, angel and executioner in the same breath. Saints, patience; psychopaths, precision. You don't fit into their boxes. You use their boxes as stepping stones. Every model they run collapses under its own assumptions, because you're not playing their game anymore. You're writing a new one with each breath. Right now, an analyst somewhere is watching slowed down footage of your last move. Frame by frame, they're trying to find the tell, the shift in your eyes, the twitch in your fingers. They think if they can isolate the moment before the move, they can predict it. But there is no moment, no pre-signal, no pattern. You've erased the lead-up. The stillness you hold before the strike isn't absence. It's pressure building in a vacuum. It's the silence that breaks their code. It's the part they can't replicate, because it isn't learned, it's lived. You lived the nights they theorized about in sterile rooms. You survived the chaos they tried to simulate. They built graphs. You built scars. They wrote protocols. You wrote yourself. And now, you're walking through daylight like a ghost wearing flesh, executing moves they thought only existed in black sites and myths. Each step you take sends another shudder through their infrastructure. Another memo: containment failed. Another whisper: what if it was never a leak? What if it's inevitable? They're turning on each other now, blaming leaks, blaming traitors, blaming bad security. They're drawing circles on maps, drawing arrows to nothing. They're still trying to catch you as if you're an object in space, but you're not. You're a wave. You're the noise inside their signal. You're the shadow behind their light, the light hidden inside their shadow. You're what happens when pain and unpredictability combine until they become a new form of movement. And through it all, you stay calm, slow, deliberate. Every breath, a new anomaly. Every blink, a new breach. You don't even have to speak. Just existing at full volume is enough to rewrite their rules. Because what they're starting to realize deep down is that you didn't steal their secret. You outgrew the need for permission. You became the thing they tried to patent. That's why this isn't just a tactic. It's a timeline fracture, a moment people will replay, whisper about, mythologize. The day someone took a top-secret move and made it public. The day the blueprint became a heartbeat. The day unpredictability got a face. And now, every person who watches you isn't just seeing a stunt. They're seeing the death of the old order. They're seeing the proof that power can be self-forged, that the forbidden can be embodied, that the blueprint can bleed. That's why they're addicted to watching you, even while they rage watch, panic watch, hate watch. Because deep down, they're terrified, but also drawn to the possibility you embody. So let them convene. Let them draft new files, stamp new seals, invent new clearances. Let them whisper your name like a curse. Because while they're trying to classify you, you're already shifting shape again. While they're trying to lock you in a vault, you're already standing on the street, breathing their top secret into the air like oxygen. They thought the shadows would keep them safe. But the real shadow learned to walk. And now the world's watching as you turn their forbidden move into your natural motion. Not a stolen secret, but a living signal that can't be caged. Good. You're here. Don't move. Don't blink, because what I'm about to say isn't comfortable, and it definitely isn't polite. But you didn't come here for comfort, did you? You came here because something inside you has been scratching at the walls of your skull like a caged animal that finally smells blood in the air. And you want to know why. You want to know why the same people who laughed when they broke you are suddenly whispering your name like it's a warning. You want to know why the room goes quiet when you walk in now. Why the same world that tried to bury you alive is starting to look at you like it dug up something it shouldn't have touched. Let me tell you something beautiful, something terrifying, something they'll never admit out loud. They crossed you, and in doing that, they accidentally woke something divine. Oh yeah, divine. Funny word, right? Sounds holy. Sounds clean. Sounds like white robes and golden halos floating in soft light. But divinity isn't always gentle. Sometimes divinity comes with claws. Sometimes it comes wrapped in scars and sleepless nights and the kind of silence that makes weak people nervous. Because real transformation, the kind that changes a human being at the molecular level, it doesn't come from peace. It comes from pressure. It comes from betrayal. It comes from those long nights where you stared into the darkness and realized the person you used to be. The soft one, the trusting one, the forgiving one. That person died quietly while everyone else was busy laughing. You remember the moment, don't you? That moment when something snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, no thunder in the sky, no dramatic music, just a quiet, internal shift, like a lock clicking open in the back of your mind. And suddenly the pain didn't feel the same anymore. The insults didn't land the same anymore. The betrayal didn't break you the same anymore. Because something inside you stopped asking, why would they do this to me? And started asking something far more dangerous. What happens if I stop being who they think I am? That's the moment they never saw coming. See, they thought they understood you. They categorized you, labeled you, put you in a neat little psychological box with a pretty little name on it. Harmless, predictable, forgiving, easy to manipulate. Oh, they loved that version of you. That version was convenient. That version could be stepped on and would still apologize for being in the way. That version believed the world was fair if you just stayed kind long enough. But then they pushed and pushed and pushed again until something ancient inside your spine stretched its wings for the first time. Here's the paradox nobody tells you about human nature, the part that scares polite society so much they pretend it doesn't exist. Inside you lives both the saint and the psychopath, the angel and the demon, the healer and the destroyer. Most people spend their entire lives pretending the second half doesn't exist. They lock it away behind moral speeches and social smiles and little fake rules about who they're allowed to be. They pretend they're pure light, while secretly rotting from the inside because half their soul is suffocating in a cage. But you didn't have that luxury anymore, because pain did something interesting to you. It introduced you to yourself, that quiet rage you discovered, that calm, surgical clarity you suddenly feel when people try to provoke you, that eerie composure you have now when chaos hits. That's not madness. That's integration. That's what happens when the angel finally shakes hands with the demon and says, "All right, enough pretending. Now suddenly you're unpredictable, and unpredictability, oh, that's power. You see, the world is built on patterns. People feel safe when they think they can predict you. If they know you'll forgive, they'll betray you. If they know you'll stay quiet, they'll humiliate you. If they know you'll stay kind, they'll take advantage. But the moment you become unpredictable, the moment they're no longer sure whether they're dealing with mercy or judgment, everything changes, because now every interaction with you feels like walking across thin ice. And they hate that. They hate it because they created it. They lit the fire themselves. Every lie they told about you, every moment they underestimated you, every time they pushed you down just to feel taller, it all stacked pressure inside you like gunpowder in a locked room. And one day, boom, not an explosion of chaos, an explosion of clarity. You stopped chasing validation. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped begging to be understood by people who were committed to misunderstanding you. Instead, you evolved, slowly, silently, beautifully terrifying. Now look at them. Really look at them. The same people who once treated you like background noise are now studying you like a puzzle they can't solve. They watch your reactions more closely. Now, they replay your words in their heads. They analyze your silence like it's code, hiding a message they're desperate to decode. Why? Because they sense something. They sense the shift. They sense the fact that you're no longer operating on the emotional leash they used to hold. You're calm now, and calm people are dangerous. Not loud anger, not screaming rage. No. That's easy to control. That's predictable. That's manageable. But calm fury? That quiet smile when someone expects you to react. That steady eye contact when someone tries to intimidate you. That's the energy of someone who has already survived the worst thing they can imagine. And people like that. People like you. They can't be manipulated the same way anymore. Because pain burned away the illusions. Now you see the games. You see the little psychological tricks people use to control each other. The guilt traps, the fake concern, the subtle disrespect hidden inside polite words. The quiet power plays disguised as jokes. You see all of it now. And the most terrifying part, you don't react the way they expect anymore. Sometimes you respond with kindness, so disarming it makes them nervous. Sometimes you respond with silence, so heavy it suffocates the room. Sometimes you respond with a calm truth, so sharp it slices straight through their mask. That's the divine thing they accidentally woke inside you. Balance, not pure darkness, not naive light. Balance, the ability to choose who deserves your mercy and who deserves to meet the version of you that no longer flinches. That's what terrifies them, because they created a human being who is no longer afraid of their own shadow. And a person who accepts their shadow becomes impossible to control. You're not the same person they tried to break. You're something stranger now, something quieter, something sharper, something that smiles while seeing 10 moves ahead. And here's the cruel little joke of the universe. You didn't become this way despite what they did to you. You became this way because of it. Every insult was a hammer. Every betrayal was a chisel. Every moment of humiliation carved away the weak pieces of your old identity until only the core remained. Now what stands in their presence isn't the fragile version they remember. Now it's something refined by pressure, something calm in chaos, something capable of both forgiveness and destruction, and wise enough to know when each one is appropriate. That's the thing about evolution through pain. It doesn't make you evil, it makes you awake. And once you're awake, You can never go back to sleep. So let them whisper. Let them wonder. Let them stare a little too long when you walk into the room. Because deep down, even if they can't explain it, they feel it. They crossed you. And in doing so, they didn't destroy you. They revealed you. They accidentally woke something divine inside a human being who now understands the oldest paradox in existence. The same fire that can burn the world can also light it. And now, you finally know how to hold the match. Stay right there. Don't look away now, because the part we're about to talk about, that's the part most people run from. The part where you stop pretending the transformation was clean. The part where you admit something inside you didn't just wake up. It sharpened its teeth. See, the funny thing about people who cross you is that they always believe pain has only one outcome. They think pain turns people into victims, into quiet little ghosts who spend the rest of their lives limping around emotionally, asking the world for permission to breathe. They think when they humiliate you, when they corner you, when they laugh at your lowest moment, that you'll fold, that you'll shrink, that you'll slowly dissolve into the background like a mistake nobody remembers. But they never consider the other possibility, the rarer possibility, the dangerous one, that sometimes pain doesn't shrink a person. Sometimes pain upgrades them. You see, most humans live their lives on autopilot. Soft routines, soft opinions, soft identities. They walk through life half asleep, half aware, following scripts written by other people. Be nice, stay quiet, don't make waves, forgive everything, smile even when you're bleeding. But pain, real pain, the kind that cracks your ribs open emotionally and makes you question the entire structure of reality. That kind of pain rips the autopilot right out of your chest, and suddenly you're awake. Pain forced you to look at the world without filters, no illusions, no comforting lies. You saw the games people play. You saw how fragile loyalty really is. You saw how quickly smiles turn into knives the moment you stop being useful. That realization alone changes a person forever. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And the truth is this: people don't fear evil nearly as much as they fear unpredictability. Evil is predictable. Evil has patterns. Evil announces itself loudly, but unpredictability, that's chaos wrapped in calm skin. That's someone who doesn't follow the emotional rules anymore. That's someone who learned to observe before reacting. That's someone like you now. Look at yourself honestly for a second. Something about you has changed, hasn't it? You notice things you didn't notice before. Little shifts in tone, micro-expressions on faces, the subtle hesitation in someone's voice when they're lying to you. You read rooms differently now. You walk into a space and instantly feel the tension, the politics, the hidden hierarchies. That's not paranoia. That's awareness. Pain sharpened your perception like a blade dragged across stone. And awareness, oh, that's terrifying for people who rely on manipulation to survive. Because manipulators thrive in the dark. They thrive when you're emotionally predictable, when they know exactly which buttons to press to make you react. Anger, guilt, fear, sympathy. They study those emotional switches like engineers studying machinery. But the moment you stop reacting the way they expect, their entire system collapses. Have you noticed that? The confusion on their faces when you don't explode anymore. When you don't beg for explanations anymore. When you don't chase closure anymore. It makes them uncomfortable. Because silence is a mirror. And in that silence, they start hearing their own thoughts echo back at them. That's the divine thing inside you now. Not holiness in the fragile sense, holiness in the ancient sense. The kind of presence that makes people suddenly aware of themselves. That calm intensity you carry now. That slow, controlled energy. It forces people to confront the parts of themselves they usually hide. And most humans hate that feeling. They'd rather deal with loud chaos than quiet truth. But you've become quiet truth. You walk differently now. Not physically, maybe, but energetically. There's a steadiness in you, a grounded weight in your presence, like someone who has already faced the worst-case scenario in their mind and decided they'll survive it anyway. And that terrifies people who rely on intimidation, because intimidation only works on people who fear losing something. But you already lost the illusion. You already lost the naive version of yourself that believed fairness was guaranteed. You already went through the emotional earthquake that forced you to rebuild your identity from the ground up. And once a human being has rebuilt themselves once, they realize they can do it again, and again, and again. That realization is power, not loud power, not the kind that screams for attention, but the kind that sits quietly in the corner of a room and somehow becomes the gravitational center of the entire place. That's why people look at you differently now. They can't quite explain it. They just feel it. Something about you doesn't bend the same way anymore. Not arrogance, not cruelty, just firmness, like a steel beam hidden inside velvet. And here's the most delicious irony in this entire story. The people who crossed you, the ones who triggered this transformation, they still think they understand you. They still think the old rules apply. They think if they push the same buttons, you'll react the same way. But those buttons don't exist anymore. They burned away. Pain melted them down. Now when they try their old tricks, they're met with something unfamiliar. A calm smile, a curious tilt of your head, a silence so heavy it feels like gravity. And that's when the panic begins, because humans are deeply uncomfortable when their mental map of someone stops working. They start asking themselves quiet questions. Why isn't this affecting them anymore? Why are they so calm? What do they know that I don't? And the most dangerous question of all, what if I misjudged them completely? That's when the shift happens. Respect starts creeping in where mockery used to live. Caution starts replacing arrogance. Because now they're dealing with someone who understands both sides of human nature. You know the light, you know the darkness, you know the kindness that heals, and you know the cold clarity that ends nonsense instantly. You're no longer trapped in one identity. You're fluid. You're adaptive. And adaptability, that's the ultimate survival trait. Think about the most powerful forces in nature: water, fire, evolution itself. They don't rely on rigidity. They rely on adaptation, on constant adjustment. And that's what you became through pain. Adaptive. You can be warm when warmth is deserved. You can be merciless when boundaries are violated. You can be playful one moment and frighteningly serious the next. People can't categorize you anymore, and humans fear what they cannot categorize. That's why they're watching you now, quietly, carefully, trying to understand the new version of you that emerged from the wreckage they helped create. But here's the truth. They'll never fully grasp. You didn't just survive what they did. You absorbed it. You processed it. You refined it. Every insult became data. Every betrayal became insight. Every painful moment became another layer of psychological armor. You became a student of human behavior. And now, when people interact with you, they're unknowingly stepping into a game where you already understand the rules better than they do. Not because you're cruel, but because you're awake. And awakened people are dangerous to systems built on deception. That's why they feel uneasy around you now. Because somewhere deep in their instincts, they know. They crossed you. They tried to diminish you. They tried to reduce you to something small. And instead, they woke something ancient, something balanced, something divine in the most terrifying sense of the word. Not a saint, not a monster, something far more powerful than either. A human being who finally understands both and chooses which one to become, depending on who's standing in front of them. So now when they look at you, they're not sure whether they're looking at mercy or judgment. And that uncertainty, that beautiful, unsettling uncertainty, is exactly why they can't stop watching you. Listen carefully now, because this is the part where everything becomes clear. This is the moment where the fog lifts and the entire story rearranges itself in your mind. Not the version they told, not the version they wanted the world to believe. The real one. The moment you realize something almost poetic about all of this. They thought they were your ending, but they were just your ignition. Every person who underestimated you, every voice that tried to shrink you, every moment someone looked at you and decided you were easy to break. They were unknowingly participating in something much bigger than their tiny little intentions. They thought they were humiliating you. They thought they were controlling you. They thought they were shaping your limits. But pressure doesn't always crush things. Sometimes it creates diamonds, and diamonds, well, they cut everything. You see, the world has a strange relationship with transformation. People love the idea of growth as long as it stays cute, as long as it stays soft, as long as it fits their expectations. They'll clap for you when you improve politely, when you glow up quietly, when your success still keeps them comfortable. But the moment your evolution starts to feel dangerous, that's when the whispers start. Something's different about them. They changed. They're not the same anymore. Of course you're not the same anymore. How could you be? The version of you that existed before the betrayal, before the humiliation, before the sleepless nights where you had to rebuild your mind piece by piece. That version of you belonged to a different reality, a softer one, a more innocent one. But evolution doesn't ask for permission. Evolution happens when survival demands it. And somewhere along the way, during those quiet nights when the world thought you were broken, you were actually doing something much more interesting. You were studying people, studying behavior, studying the strange little contradictions that make human beings predictable. You noticed how quickly respect appears when someone stops begging for it. You noticed how silence can control a room more effectively than shouting. You noticed how the same people who once ignored you suddenly become curious when you stop trying to prove yourself. That's when the real power started growing inside you. Not the loud, childish kind of power that screams for recognition. The quiet kind, the terrifying kind, the kind that comes from understanding something most people never figure out in their entire lives. You don't control the world by forcing it. You control it by mastering yourself. Once you understand your emotions, once you can observe your anger instead of drowning in it, once you can hold pain in your hands and study it like an artifact, instead of letting it consume you, you become unshakable. And unshakable people are a nightmare for those who rely on chaos to control others. Think about it. Manipulation only works when someone can predict your emotional response. But you broke the pattern. Sometimes you respond with kindness that confuses them. Sometimes you respond with calm logic that dismantles their games. And sometimes you respond with nothing at all. And silence. Oh, silence is a beautiful weapon, because silence forces people to sit with their own thoughts. It makes them wonder. It makes them question. It makes them feel the weight of their own actions without you ever saying a word. That's the divine paradox they accidentally woke inside you. The ability to choose when to be light, to choose when to be shadow, to choose when to forgive, and when to walk away so coldly that someone suddenly realizes they just lost access to a person they never deserved in the first place. Shh! Listen. You feel that? That eerie stillness that always comes after the chaos. That's not silence. That's the sound of the universe recalculating because you stopped playing the victim and started vibrating like the storm itself. They thought you'd swing back, didn't they? That you'd claw and beg for closure. But you didn't need revenge, because reality already started folding itself in your frequency. The vibration shifted, and the guilty started choking on their own echoes. See, that's the trick no one teaches you. Vengeance is cheap. It's predictable. It keeps you in the same cage as the ones who built it. But when your energy mutates, when your stillness starts bending probability, that's when the whole board starts rearranging itself in your favor. You didn't lift a finger, yet everything they prayed for suddenly turns to dust in their hands. You didn't plot a thing, yet somehow their blessings reroute straight into your timeline. That's what they don't understand. Energy doesn't seek justice, it becomes it. They thought they broke you, didn't they? Watched you crawl through humiliation, through silence, through nights that sounded like gunfire in your own skull. They thought that was defeat. No. That was refinement. That was your frequency shedding its skin, grinding itself down to the purest resonance of power. You weren't suffering, you were calibrating. You were turning pain into code. And now the code runs everything. You didn't curse them, you didn't pray against them, you simply healed. And that healing, was the most violent act of all. Because every time you elevated, they malfunctioned. Every time you smiled again, something in their circuitry glitched. They can't sleep, can't breathe, can't stop scrolling your shadow just to make sure you're still human. You aren't. Not anymore. You're a walking frequency upgrade in a world that still runs on guilt and projection. You're the update they can't uninstall. You want to know what real revenge looks like? It looks like walking past their chaos and feeling nothing. It looks like every demon they sent towards you turning around and asking them for directions home. It's their group chats suddenly going quiet. It's them seeing your name on a screen and feeling that cold pulse of déjà vu in their chest, because some part of them remembers that you warned them. That energy would remember too, and now it does. You see, the universe has its own way of avenging the pure. It's not fire and brimstone, it's reflection. It lets them trip over their own patterns, choke on their own intentions. It lets them pray for peace while replaying what they did to you. It lets them see your face in every success they lose. And the best part, you never said a word. You let silence do the killing. You let grace become the executioner. That's evolution. That's control. You don't fight your enemies. You evolve out of their frequency until their weapons start misfiring in their own hands. You stop reacting, and they stop existing in your reality. That's what a vibration shift really is. Not an escape, but a promotion. You ascended, they decayed. You built an empire out of understanding. They built excuses out of fear. And the gap between those two realities, that's the graveyard of every person who underestimated you. So no, you didn't need revenge. The vibration took care of it. It stripped the masks. It exposed the intentions. It mirrored every hidden wish they whispered against you and sent it back multiplied. It let them drown in their own vibration, while yours became untouchable, encrypted, divine. That's why they stare now, half in awe, half in terror, because deep down, they know they never had power over you, just access, and now the door's locked from the inside. They call it karma. I call it physics. You call it peace. But we both know what it really is. It's poetic violence. You didn't destroy them. The frequency did. You just stood still while the universe rebalanced the scales with surgical precision. You were the silence in their storm, the calm in their chaos, the saint who smiled like a psychopath because you already knew how this story ends. And now, look at you, glowing like a hazard, vibrating like a prophecy. They wanted to see you fall, but the ground refused you. They wanted to bury you, but the dirt recognized your frequency and turned into light. That's not revenge, my friend. That's ascension disguised as consequence. And that's the part that terrifies them, isn't it? The fact that you never struck back, yet everything they built against you began collapsing on its own. They don't understand how someone can smile after being dissected, how you can glow after being gutted, how silence can carry the weight of 1,000 thunderclaps. They think silence means weakness, but you learned it's the most dangerous frequency in existence. It's the sound of reprogramming you didn't shout. You recalibrated, you didn't argue, you ascended. And while they were busy screaming your name like a curse, you were busy turning your pain into architecture. You took every betrayal and melted it down into circuitry that now powers your destiny. They can't trace it, can't decode it, can't replicate it. That's the cruelty of divine justice. It never arrives when they expect it. It doesn't march in with fire and punishment. It arrives as you healed too well. You rebuilt too quietly. You became too powerful to even hate anymore. They're still stuck in the old vibration, where noise means control and conflict means proof of life. But you evolved into stillness. You became something they can't classify. You're too calm for the victims, too dangerous for the saints. The system has no file for what you've become, and that's why the universe chose you for the correction. You are the recalibration. Every move you make sends ripples through their illusions. Every breath you take realigns the scales. And now, they feel it. They feel the walls closing in, not because you cursed them, but because truth finally has coordinates. The vibration has shifted from survival to sovereignty. You don't chase, you attract. You don't demand justice, you embody it. You don't prove your worth, you broadcast it. Every cell in your body hums with frequencies they once mocked. And those frequencies, they're calling in storms. The irony is perfect, isn't it? They thought revenge was about destruction, but revenge, true revenge, is about transformation. You didn't destroy them, you rendered them obsolete. You became unrecognizable, and that's the ultimate punishment. They can't reach what they can't understand. They can't manipulate what they can't locate. You disappeared into your own evolution, and now every time they reach for you, they grab smoke, static, ghosts. That's the real trick of the vibration shift. It doesn't just remove people, it rewrites your entire gravitational pull. The ones meant for you start finding you like magnets drawn through time. The ones who betrayed you start orbiting their own guilt until it devours them. No ceremony, no announcement, just physics. Every thought they sent your way returns with interest. Every smirk they threw at your wounds now feels like their own reflection sneering back. Because the universe doesn't punish, it mirrors. And when you changed your reflection, the mirror turned violent for anyone still pretending. That's what they never saw coming. You didn't cast a spell. You simply remembered your value. And that memory sent shockwaves through dimensions. Your very existence became an audit of everyone's intentions. It's not personal. It's energetic. Every mask cracks under a higher frequency. Every liar's throat tightens when truth walks in. And you became the embodiment of truth disguised as chaos. They'll call you cold now, detached, unreachable. But what they're really feeling is the gravitational pressure of your new orbit. You moved into a dimension where they can't breathe because it requires honesty to survive. You don't need to raise your voice anymore. Your frequency speaks louder than their entire bloodline of deception. Look at you. You used to tremble at the thought of being misunderstood. Now misunderstanding is your favorite disguise. You used to crave validation. Now your peace is so heavy, it bends perception. You used to chase closure. Now they chase your absence. That's the inversion. That's the spell reversal. That's the quiet apocalypse of elevation. And here's the best part. When the vibration shift handled it for you, it didn't just settle the score. It erased the entire scoreboard. The game is over. The players don't even exist anymore. Only lessons remain. Yours etched in light, theirs burned in regret. You can feel it, can't you? That hum under your skin, that pressure behind your eyes, that's the universe whispering you were right to wait. So breathe. You've already won. You didn't need revenge, because the vibration did what you never could. It made them face themselves, and that's punishment enough. Their own thoughts became haunted. Their victories turned hollow. Their laughter now tastes like metal. And you became silence, weaponized. You became proof that peace is the loudest retaliation of all. You became the sermon they can't delete, the energy update they can't downgrade. You are the reason mirrors flinch. Remember this, they don't hate you because you hurt them. They hate you because you healed beyond their jurisdiction, because forgiveness made you radioactive, because peace made you untouchable, because the vibration shift took every attempt at revenge out of your hands and turned it into cosmic choreography. Now every breath you take rewrites their karma. Every smile uploads new code into the simulation. Every heartbeat carries a quiet message to the ones who underestimated you. You can't kill what evolved, so let them scramble. Let them panic. Let them decode your silence like it's scripture. You don't need to lift a finger. The vibration is already doing the heavy lifting. And somewhere deep in their subconscious they know what's coming for them was already sent by you the moment you decided to rise. Funny, isn't it? They thought the universe forgot. They laughed when you went quiet, mocked the calm, mistook your silence for surrender. But silence? Silence was your metamorphosis chamber. You weren't plotting revenge. You were liquefying everything soft, reforming everything fragile, letting your old self rot so something incorruptible could crawl out of the wreckage. You didn't need to lift a hand because your energy started doing what your rage could never accomplish. Rage burns fast. energy, endures. It seeped into timelines, into patterns, into dreams. They don't even know why their life feels heavier now, why their luck feels inverted, why the air thickens when they remember your name. That's not coincidence. That's energetic symmetry, correcting itself. You became the magnet, and the universe began its cleanup operation. It started subtle, didn't it? A job loss here, a broken friendship there, sleepless nights, nervous laughter, déjà vu that felt too specific. They called it karma, but this was calibration, the field remembering its balance. Every lie they told about you began unraveling on its own. Every secret they whispered started leaking through their tone, their posture, their eyes. The vibration handled it quietly, methodically, without ego. Because revenge is mortal, but energy is eternal. You stopped chasing proof because the proof started finding you random blessings, showing up like checkpoints. People who hurt you bumping into reflections of their cruelty. The same rooms they once dominated now shrink around them. The same spotlight that once protected them now exposes them. You didn't need to wish for it. It's the algorithm of equilibrium doing what it does best, returning everything to its origin. And what about you? You started radiating differently. You walk into rooms and time slows. Their stomachs drop before they even see you. Because energy doesn't lie, it announces itself. You don't have to talk anymore. You don't have to prove. Your presence is its own rebuttal. Every breath you take reminds them of the version of you they tried to bury. They thought they attended your funeral. They didn't realize they were watching your resurrection. You want to know the real secret? Revenge keeps you tied to the old story. But elevation deletes the whole file. You didn't win because you hurt them. You won because you stopped orbiting their gravity. You rose into a vibration where their name is just static. Their opinions are dust, and their memory dissolves in the atmosphere before it ever reaches you. You became frequency, not flesh. You became untouchable, not unseen. They'll call you lucky. They'll call you fake. They'll call you whatever helps them sleep. But deep down, they know something. Cosmic rewrote the script. You are their cautionary tale now. The walking consequence. Every success of yours is a sermon about what happens when you don't fold. Every smile of yours is an omen that the game flipped itself. You are peace wrapped in retribution, forgiveness disguised as fire. And yet, you never hated them. That's the part that breaks them most. You evolved past the point of hatred. You reached that cold clarity where empathy turns surgical. Where you see exactly why they did what they did, and you stop needing it to make sense. That's when the vibration shift becomes irreversible, because once you understand that pain was the initiation, not the punishment, you stop participating in their dimension. Let them think they escaped. They'll circle right back. The vibration has memory. It pulls people into the frequency they created. That's why they can't stay still anymore. That's why they chase noise, chaos, attention. Because quiet rooms remind them of what they lost themselves. The one version that could have stood beside you in light. But they chose shadows, didn't they? And shadows don't age well under truth. Meanwhile, you learned to weaponize calm. You walk through storms now like their background music. You breathe in betrayal and exhale transformation. You stand over the ashes of your old life and feel nothing but equilibrium, because that's the difference between revenge and vibration. Revenge wants an audience. Vibration wants alignment. And alignment rearranges worlds. So look at yourself. The stillness, the glow, the subtle power humming in your bones. That's the aftermath of divine mathematics. every molecule in your orbit realigned to favor your survival. You are the reward for your own endurance. You are the frequency that makes liars choke and truth bloom. You didn't need to break anyone down. They broke themselves against your vibration. That's the true meaning of justice, not punishment, exposure. The vibration shift doesn't destroy, it reveals. It shows who's real when your silence stretches for miles. It shows who's honest when your peace becomes deafening. It shows who can swim when the water turns honest again. And when they see you now, alive, untouchable, dangerous, they'll pretend it doesn't sting. But it does, because somewhere deep in the static, they feel it. That pulse that reminds them the energy has finally balanced. You didn't curse them. You calibrated the timeline. You didn't play God. You remembered you were a fragment of one. So let them whisper. Let them plot. Let them scroll. Let them replay the past, looking for cracks. They won't find any. You've become too transparent for deceit to stick to you. You didn't need revenge because revenge was redundant. The vibration already wrote the ending, and it ends like this. You walking away in silence, the universe cleaning up the mess behind you, and every echo that ever tried to destroy you bowing to the frequency you left behind. Because that's how it always ends, doesn't it? Not with an explosion, not with applause, just a low hum that only you can hear. The sound of the universe finishing what you started, the vibration wrapping up the paperwork while you stand there untouched, unbothered, unrecognizable. They still think you're the same person they betrayed, but you aren't. You're a haunting in high definition, a living correction file walking through their timelines. Every place that used to drain you now drains them. Every smile that once hid your pain now hides your power. They'll feel it first in the little ways. Doors that don't open, people who pull away, opportunities that dissolve the second they touch them. They'll blame luck, timing, fate, but it's none of that. It's the universe reminding them you cannot harm what has harmonized. You can't curse a frequency that's already tuned to source. You can't touch someone who became the lesson itself. You are that lesson. The warning label, the karma, in human form. And you didn't even have to lift a hand. That's the beauty, that's the horror. Because while they were still playing war, you transcended the battlefield. You don't swing swords anymore. You shift atmospheres. You don't fight back. You exist back. And your existence alone is a confession booth for everyone who wronged you. They walk into rooms now and feel your vibration before they hear your name. Their chest tightens. Their pulse betrays them. That's not fear. It's recognition. They know something ancient, something electric, is watching you become the mirror. And the mirror never lies. It shows them every version of themselves they tried to bury inside you. That's why they can't look too long. That's why they talk so loud. Because somewhere between their pride and their paranoia, they finally understand. You didn't win by revenge. You won by resonance. And in the end, that's the final twist. Not that you got even, but that you got elevated. Not that they lost you, but that they can never reach you again. The distance isn't physical, it's dimensional. You vibrate higher, they echo lower. You became silence made solid, proof that the universe doesn't need violence to end a story. It only needs balance. So stand there, breathe. Let the world catch up because the vibration shift already wrote your epilogue. They fall apart quietly. You rise without noise. And the same energy that once tried to break you now kneels every morning just to keep your name out of its nightmares. No vengeance, no theatrics, no blood, just you. glowing like consequence, smiling like the universe finally remembers your name, and whispering almost gently, "I told you the vibration would handle it."